So I'm Carly Creasy, and this is my contribution to social work PowerPoint project. Um, yeah. Second for this to move. Alright, so my contribution to social work was Dorothy Height. Dorothy was involved in the civil rights movement, among other things. She was also heavily involved in the women's rights movement. But the civil rights movement is kind of what comes up first. Although she really stressed that she felt they should both be combined as one movement. This is one of the quotes I was able to find from Dorothy, basically saying that she wanted to be someone who was remembered as somebody who tried, who was hands-on and cared. Something I found interesting was that Dorothy actually lived most of her life around here on the East Coast. She was in Pennsylvania for her adolescence. Virginia was where she was born. She spent some time in Maryland, in D.C. She actually passed away in D.C. in 2010 at the age of 98. She is buried about 2.5 hours from Salisbury at the Lincoln Cemetery in Maryland, which I thought was kind of cool that she is so close to Salisbury. Something I found quite interesting was that Dorothy attended school in Rankin, PA for her adolescent life. And after that, she attended New York University, Columbia University, and the New York School of Social Work. Something I found really interesting was that this university, which is Barnard University, accepted her, and then she wasn't able to go because they didn't admit black students on campus. People of color weren't allowed there, and I think that's really embarrassing for their past. She was also part of the National Council for Negro Women, which aims to inspire and teach over 2 million men and women. Their website states that their mission is to lead, advocate for, and empower women of African descent as well as their family and communities. Dorothy is actually right on their homepage. I think she'd be beyond proud of the work they're doing still today. She was president of the NCNW for 40 years, I believe. So she was a natural-born leader, and that always kind of showed. This was the first organization she was really part of, which is the YWCA, which is the Young Women's Christian Association, and she was part of the Harlem division because she worked as a social worker in Harlem, New York, and she became a local leader there very quickly and is actually part of how they expanded to nationwide. She was very passionate about the lynching of African American people in the United States. She wanted to get laws passed to prevent that. This is a picture from George Floyd's murder. I think it was important for me to include because a lot of people have compared it to lynching being done by police, and I think it's something she would have felt very passionate about. She would have been on the front line if she was still here. This is a picture that's been circulating around social media recently, and it has a lot to do with Black Lives Matter movement. I think she would definitely have been part of that. I think she would have been on the front lines, and I think it's really sad that in 2020 we're able to make these kind of comparisons. We're repeating history. She was also crucial in the organization of the March on Washington. She, along with her peers, organized and fought for women to be able to speak. She did not end up getting that, but regardless, she continued to work for the march. You actually can see her in this picture. It's almost looks like leopard print, but she's kind of side-eyeing Martin Luther King. She was sat right up there with the speakers, although she herself did not speak. She was sort of just on the front lines organizing and making sure everything ran smoothly. She also was a visiting professor at a few universities. This is the University of Delhi in India. She traveled there and taught. She was very passionate about what she did and about civil rights and women's rights. And so she taught at the University of Delhi as well as the Women's Federation of South Africa, I think is what it used to be called. She dedicated her life to fighting for equality and educating the future generations on how to do so, which I think is really important and inspiring that she dedicated her life to that. Height was also known for her organization. She was able to establish Wednesdays in Mississippi, which is for freedom, schools, and open communication between women of different races. This is her and her partner who did that with her. She also was often called for advice on political issues. This is a picture of her and Eleanor Roosevelt, because they called her a lot when it came to women's rights and civil rights issues for advice on what they should do politically. She was very hands-on. She received many, many awards. This is a picture of her receiving the Congressional Gold Medal Award from President Bush. She also received the Citizens Medal Award from Ronald Reagan, as well as being inducted into the Democracy Hall of Fame. She was also given 24 honorary degrees by various universities. She was very, very inspirational. I really enjoyed learning about her. She saw the outcome as the most important part, but also saw it was important to watch and go through the obstacles that were overcome. And then this is my references, and yeah, I hope you know a little bit more about Dorothy than you did before this started. She was truly an inspirational woman.